assault and batteries, but my trunk stay ever ready. Assault and battery, if you scared, you never ready.
Alright, this video I've been wanting to make for a while now because it seems like as the months go on, 2026 hasn't been the best year for not only WWE, but maybe wrestling in general. I feel like wrestling really peaked again at WrestleMania 40 when Cody finished his story. And honestly, it seemed like it was going to be some sort of resurgence. It was going to be a start of a new era. And I know we hear that every year after every PLE, Triple H comes on here and he says that it's the start of a new era. It's going to be something that we've never seen before. But really, it's always the same thing. They always circle back to the same stuff that worked maybe 2, 3, even 4 years ago. And they try to rehash it and they try to, repackage it, give it to us in a different manner. And honestly, it's been a struggle. It's the first year without John Cena, and I feel like WWE hasn't really reached that potential that we all know they have the capability of getting to. And I was really thinking about it because one of the future videos coming up, probably in a few days, is my favorite matches of 2026 so far. And it really took a minute for me to think of at least 3 matches that really stood out and matches that I can really consider being good to great matches of 2026. And 2025 had decent matches, very good matches actually, and they all featured John Cena against whoever during his retirement tour. But now that John Cena's gone, it's like, what has WWE really done to take that ball that Cena left and run with it? And to be honest, there hasn't been much. At WrestleMania, they've literally made a storyline about how tickets weren't selling, people weren't interested. And to be honest, besides the main event of Night 2 with Roman and Punk, Mania wasn't all that it was hyped up to be. And I feel like that's where the first struggle really comes in. With WrestleMania 40 happening a couple years ago, it reached that point where everyone was watching. And I remember making a video on this where people were talking about WrestleMania 40 on radio shows that I would never imagine. They were talking about on TV shows, news outlets. It was covered in every single faucet of social media, every single avenue of media in general. Since that time, I think it was a great time, a great opportunity for WWE and wrestling really in general to capitalize on it and make something bigger than they've ever really imagined, with TKO backing them up. But after WrestleMania 40, things kind of went downhill. I think it's pretty apparent. They didn't really know what to do with Cody. Roman left for a little while, and I feel like there was a lot of momentum lost from the time Cody won the belt at WrestleMania to the time Roman came back at SummerSlam. Having to explain to people about what happened at WrestleMania and how things didn't really pick up from where they left off. It's always like, it's not embarrassing, but it is kind of like redundant to having to explain that, hey, just so you know, WrestleMania had the best probably 5 minutes in wrestling history, but after that they didn't really pick up the ball and really go anywhere, and that's kind of the bubble we all live in, is that 5 minutes of amazingness. And since then they really haven't done much. A lot of the people in my life, they know of wrestling, they watch it periodically, they are aware of whatever highlights. They are aware of CM Punk, I feel like is the #1 guy. They're aware of Roman Reigns, they're aware of Cody Rhodes, and they were aware of John Cena, but since he's gone, those are really the top 3 guys that people really gravitate towards as a casual fan, or as someone who was once a fan and maybe isn't a fan anymore. But CM Punk, I feel like, is head over heels above both Roman and Cody Rhodes, just because he's been there for so long. And having to explain that, yeah, CM Punk's kind of not there anymore, and even seeing him wrestle, it has been bad, but I think a lot of people have an expectation for CM Punk to be a certain way, and maybe him not reaching that level of wrestling ability, I think turns people off, and it kind of, you see a lot of things getting thrown around about how he's washed and how he can't wrestle anymore and how he's old. And I think that's just kind of ignorance when it comes to a lot of casual fans point of view when it comes to wrestling. But then they see things like Unreal, and I think this is the biggest thing for me, especially watching the documentary with my wife. We watched it and she got her own perspective on it because she has no idea what's going on in wrestling, where me, it was like, damn, I knew all this, but like they really pulled the curtain back when it came to what was real and what was not, and how much really went into these matches. And her and I, we went to the Elimination Chamber in 2024. 2025, the year Cena turned heel. And to see that scene where all 6 participants in the Elimination Chamber were all standing in a circle, kind of going over the match, it made her laugh. And it was kind of like, damn, like this is more scripted than she expected and anticipated. And for me, I didn't really know what to think because it was confusing to watch on one hand, seeing her reaction, but for me, it was cool to see like what kind of went into it. But with her, she sees like how obsessed and how much into wrestling I am, and there's a lot of other people in her life that are into wrestling as well. But then I think about those people who aren't into wrestling and they see the stuff they show on Unreal. They show the fake injury, with Seth Rollins when he cashed in on CM Punk. You see them putting matches together. You see the behind the scenes of like guys going over their time and who's going to win, who's not going to win. And I can't help but to think like what they really think of wrestling, because I feel like people have their own perspective of professional wrestling in 2026 now. And to just have that show really out there, really exposing everything that wrestling is, I think it makes it that much harder for real fans and passionate fans to really defend themselves on what wrestling is and why we love it so much. And then comes the thing with AEW. So many times I hear people say like, who's your favorite wrestler? Who's like what are some great matches that I can watch if I want to get into wrestling? And as much as I want to tell them like, hey, watch Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, or watch Darby Allin versus MJF, or watch John Moxley versus whoever, John Moxley versus Takeshita even, these matches are head over heels better than anything WWE's put on this year, last year, whatever. But the thing is, and I know it as a fan, there is a large gap between what WWE is and what AEW is. And that gap is significant, to the point where people don't take you seriously when they hear something else other than WWE. TNA, not even in the picture, no offense. As good as TNA is, people just don't take it seriously. And it's been like this since 2007, when I used to tell people that I prefer TNA over WWE. It was like, oh, TNA, like, what is that? Like, what's TNA? But having to explain people that some of my favorite wrestlers are in another company, or some of them who are once in WWE are now in AEW, it kind of gives the perception that, hey, they're washed, they're old, whatever, they can't cut in the big leagues. And there's just another struggle that we have in 2026, where everyone is just so hell-bent on making WWE the only wrestling promotion that matters. And good on them. They've really marketed themselves, and they've really put themselves out there to be the one and only, really monopolizing that era, that whole thing. As much as I feel like AEW is trying to do their best to break away and be on par, it's tough. You know, WWE is a juggernaut, and I think it doesn't matter that Kenny Omega can put on a million amazing matches, but one good match from whoever will outshine any of those matches AEW's put on in 2026. With that being said, you know, you had the match from AAA this past weekend, last week. It was a good match. It was great. But again, I can think of many matches that were better in AEW, but they have one good match, and because it's WWE, sure, like, I'm not downplaying the match at all. It was great. But I just feel like there's so much better stuff out there, and because it's not on that big stage, it really becomes irrelevant. Those are just a few struggles, honestly, that I feel like I'm encountered in 2026 being a wrestling fan. I feel like there's so many more, but just feel like as the months go on, especially now we're halfway through the year, and really what matches really stick out to me, you know, there's not many. There's a couple, enough for me to make a video on, but I just feel like for the position WWE's in, for what they charge for ticket prices, for what they charge for you to like be part of their circle, it's kind of underwhelming, and it sucks. But then again, you always hope that they're going to get better. Now with SummerSlam around the corner, I feel like they're really culminating a lot of these big matches and these big feuds to really get their payoff in August. So 2-night event, I'm sure it'll be good. But let me know if you agree or disagree with these struggles that I have, and I'll see you guys in the next video.